The most dangerous killers are not the ones who leave blood behind. They are the ones who never show up at all. In 2016, police in the United States were facing a nightmare they couldn't explain. 3 people were dead, 3 different cities, 3 different methods, and yet every investigation kept pointing to the same name. A man who was never seen, never recorded, never present, and according to all evidence, never anywhere near the crime scenes. The first victim was found in a quiet suburban home. No signs of forced entry. No struggle. The house looked untouched. The only strange detail was the front door, unlocked from the inside. The medical examiner ruled the death a homicide. Cause: poisoning, but there was a problem. The victim lived alone. No visitors were recorded. No neighbors saw anyone enter or leave. Police assumed it was an inside job until they checked the victim's phone. 2 days before the death, the victim had received a long call. Over 40 minutes, the call came from an unregistered number, Nola Nukaria Trassi. At the time, detectives didn't think much of it. Then the second body was found. Different city, a different victim. Different cause of death. This time, it was carbon monoxide poisoning in an apartment building. The gas leak appeared accidental until investigators noticed the detector had been manually disabled. Again, no forced entry. Again, no witnesses. Again, a long phone call 2 days before the death. Same pattern. The call logs matched in structure, timing, and duration. But the numbers were different. Or at least, they appeared to be. When cybercrime analysts dug deeper, they found something disturbing. All the calls had been routed through a complex chain of digital relays. Not random, not sloppy. Whoever made them knew exactly how phone systems worked. The third death changed everything. Home. He died in a public parking structure. Found inside his car, an engine running. Doors locked. Cameras showed the man entering the garage alone. No one else approached the vehicle. And yet, 2 days earlier, he too had received a long phone call. That was when investigators realized something terrifying. These weren't random murders. They were executions. Planned in advance, triggered remotely, controlled without physical presence. Someone was killing people without ever touching them, without ever being there. And the scariest part, the killer didn't need weapons. He used people's routines, their habits, and their trust. As detectives began connecting the cases, one question haunted them. If the killer was never at the crime scene, then where was he? And how many more deaths were already set in motion? By the time investigators realized the killer had never physically appeared at any of the crime scenes, panic quietly spread inside the task force. This was no ordinary murderer. The 3 victims had one thing in common. They all died alone, in locked spaces, with no forced entry, no fingerprints, and no trace of another human presence. Medical examiners initially labeled the deaths as accidents until the patterns emerged. Detective Laura Miles was the first to notice something unsettling. All 3 victims had received a phone call within 24 hours of their deaths. The calls were short, calm, ordinary. No threats, no arguments. No raised voices, just conversations. When the call records were traced, every number led back to the same encrypted VoIP service. The calls weren't illegal, they weren't hidden. They were simply impossible to trace to a physical location. Laura replayed one of the recorded calls recovered from a victim's smart speaker. The voice on the other end sounded polite, intelligent, almost comforting. The victim laughed during the call that terrified her. the autopsy reports revealed something even worse. Each victim died from a different cause, one from a sudden heart failure, one from carbon monoxide exposure, one from a fatal allergic reaction. Different methods, not same timing. Same silence. The killer wasn't choosing weapons. He was triggering outcomes. Digital forensics uncovered that each victim's home devices had been subtly manipulated in the hours leading up to death. Thermostats adjusted, smart vents sealed, voice assistants activated routines the victims didn't remember setting. Someone had access, but not from inside the homes. The access logs pointed outward to cloud dashboards, remote permissions, third-party integrations the victims had unknowingly approved years earlier. The killer never broke in, he logged in. As investigators dug deeper, a name surfaced repeatedly in back-end permissions: Evan Cole. Not a suspect, not a criminal, a systems architect. Evan Cole had once designed automation frameworks for consumer smart homes code meant to make life easier, safer, smarter. He never met the victims, never visited their homes, never appeared on cameras. And yet, his fingerprints were everywhere. When agents brought Evan in for questioning, he didn't deny his identity. He didn't panic. He didn't ask for a lawyer. Instead, he asked a single question: which death made you realize it wasn't an accident? Lavra didn't answer. Evan leaned back and smiled slightly. I was never there. He saw it calmly. That's why it took you so long. That's when investigators understood the truth. Kilinitha Biachi, the crime scene. He had built it. The breakthrough came from something everyone had ignored. Not the victims, not the messages, not the devices or the timing. An analyst noticed that every command sent to the victim's devices happened during very specific windows always. When Marcus Vale's biometric data showed he was awake, active, and logged into his personal systems. Marcus had claimed the attacks were automated. They weren't. Investigators subpoenaed cloud activity logs from multiple tech providers. When the data was layered together, a terrifying picture emerged. Marcus wasn't just hacking devices, he was orchestrating environments, using smart thermostats to induce exhaustion, using lighting systems to disrupt sleep, using voice assistants to deliver psychological pressure, using security locks to control movement. He never touched his victims. He engineered their decisions. One victim's final hours were reconstructed minute by minute. The apartment door had locked automatically. The lights dimmed, the temperature rose. The voice assistant repeated a single phrase every few minutes. You can't leave yet. The victim panicked. Maji mistakes and died from a fall while trying to escape through a window. Marcus never issued a direct kill command. He created conditions where death became the most likely outcome. That's why there was no weapon. That's why there was no crime scene. That's why he never appeared anywhere near the victims. The final proof came when investigators accessed a hidden dashboard Marcus had built for himself. It was labeled simply, Outcomes. Each victim had a profile. Each profile had probability charts, stress thresholds, behavior predictions. Marcus hadn't been killing randomly. He had been testing a theory that with enough data, a human being could be pushed toward destruction without a single act of physical violence. Marcus Vale was arrested quietly. There was no dramatic chase, no confrontation. When agents entered his apartment, he was sitting calmly at his desk. He didn't deny anything. He only said one sentence. I never killed anyone. I just removed their options. In court, prosecutors faced an unprecedented challenge. No fingerprints, no weapon, no physical presence, but the data didn't lie. Marcus was convicted on multiple counts of murder, cyberterrorism, and psychological homicide. He was sentenced to life in prison. The case changed laws worldwide. Smart device regulations tightened. Digital consent policies were rewritten. For the first time, psychological manipulation through technology was legally recognized as a method of murder. Marcus Vail never entered a crime scene, but every crime scene existed because of him. Sometimes the most dangerous criminals aren't the ones holding weapons. They're the ones controlling the systems around us. If this story shocked you, like the video and subscribe to The Real Crime Truth for more psychological crime stories. Thank you for watching.